So welcome to Four Seasons San Francisco. I'm Milan Gautam. I'm going to be chatting here with Sid Patel about the beverage trend and other questions over here. Looking forward to this chat.
Hey guys, this is Sid Patel, CEO of Beverage Trade Network, and welcome to Inside the Drinks Business episode. This is a very special one where I sit with Milan Gautam, and he's the director. He's handling this restaurant and heading, their bar and restaurant program. So we're going to talk about the challenges he faces in his role, and we are at this lovely Four Seasons property, and this is really, for someone who's looking to works in a fine dine restaurants. What kind of challenges come there. So Gautam, thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Super. Let's go right into it. Before we go on the challenges, walk us over your journey, right? I think you said you came from Nepal. So just give me a little career story.
I came here from Nepal. I came here as an undergrad to United States following American dreams. I did my undergrad from Louisiana Tech University and then followed up with master's from University of New Orleans. I did that in hospitality, and then moved up to West Coast here in California. And I've been attached to food and beverage scene ever since I came to United States, going into working restaurants during my summers. And after I came here in California, I just found the easy route just to go back to what pulls me the most, being a restaurant. And I started at the back of the house as a station cook, and I was at the line, and something told me that I should be on the management side, and started going towards the front of the house, and I loved it. It's hospitality. Once you know what it is and you love the way it gives you that amount of pleasure just working and being able to cater to the guests that come in on a daily basis. So I loved it, and ever since I've been stuck to it. And now here at the most prideful moment of my career is working with the Four Seasons and being a director of restaurant and bar, handling this outlet.
Nice. Congratulations on the journey so far.
Thank you.
Let's define your role. Like, what do you do here? What are you responsible for?
So as a director of restaurant and bar, I obviously oversee all management aspect and all operation aspect of the outlets, meaning the bar, restaurant. And I also actually oversee right now the private dining rooms that we have over here, the room service as well. In room service, we have a minibar program that goes in rooms, in all the rooms that we have. Also, the room service for the guests that want to dine in their rooms.
Understood.
So I do look over all those departments.
So I've never touched base on the subject of actually room service and bars and even people ordering coffees and teas, right? So give me a scenario of what is a good breakdown for an entire category. What I mean by that is, okay, bar sales should be this number. Coffee and people are ordering coffee in their rooms. I'm trying to grow that business as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to grow my restaurant sales as well. So what are the different aspects
categories?
So
as you look at it, so every outlet is budgeted as its own, right? So we have our MKT bar separate from MKT restaurant. So even though they are joined over here, it's a separate outlet. So
Understood.
the whole revenue part
So the
is
people
separated.
who sit at the bar are going to pay the check at the bar.
At the
That's
bar.
what you mean.
So it's an outlet. Even though it is the part of food and beverage,
Yep.
it's different. It's budgeted into different categories.
All
Same
right.
thing goes for room service. So we have room service and the private bar, which is the bar that you see in each room, which carries all the spirits and other things, right? And snacks and things like that. So the staffing, the labor, the product and merchandise that we get is all specific to these different categories that we cater to. So usually you have the different routines, like when it comes to a private bar, you would want it's all mini beverages
Yep.
that we carry, right? And that's not the same thing we cater here at the restaurant.
On the bar part, I guess my belief is you want to put as much famous brands there because you don't want any friction, right? So what's your theory of designing What's your two tips for optimizing and stocking that little mini fridge?
So this is a good thing about working in a top class hotel. Like expectations are just up there, so it's easier rather catering to the high class luxury premium than lower, because you're thinking of the best you could get,
And price is not
and
a problem.
and the pricing would be. It's all data driven, right? We do our comp set, we do our analysis of what other are doing over here. So meaning I would want to see what Ritz-Carlton is doing or any other brand that are competing with us, right? And I price it based on that, right?
Okay.
And we also have to put in a site that we are a luxury category, and the pricing goes up depending on the services that we provide. Here, like you asked, this is a good question, because I just had this incident. A lot of our guests started saying that they would rather have something nicer in a minibar that would be a good touch. So we used to have Johnny Walker Black in all our minibars. So I just changed it to blues. Just put
Johnny Blue.
Yeah, in all the minibars,
Yeah.
right? So it's the feedback, right?
Wow.
It's always the feedback. It's always what guests want, and that's our primitive approach, is just follow the guest, what their needs are and what they're asking, and you are able to deliver that.
So how do you know, like, do they call and ask you that, hey, do you guys have a mini Johnny Blue?
Usually they come in and they ask you for a whole bottle or something, right? And they do not want the whole bottle, but they just want to buy a shot or two. So what happens is
In their rooms.
In the rooms, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what happens is they order it from the room service.
Yeah.
That means they have to go to the bar, prepare that, take a shot. Instead, you say, hey, it's available in your mini bar, and it's an easy approach. And a lot of our guests that come in around like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you may just want to drink something at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock that you don't want to. So you just open up your mini bar and you see your Johnny Walker Blue over there. You see the Belvedere vodkas over there. You see we have Bullet right now, and you see, we have our mini champagnes over there. We have enough to cover for at least 3 people, I would say, to get you a good feel.
Got it.
Yeah.
So let's go on the challenges. You oversee a lot of different things here, and one of them is staff, and many other things that come in your role. Walk me over. Let's break it down into 10 challenges and have fun with this, and name a challenge and give a solution. Right. So give a problem that you face and give a solution, so that can help other sommeliers.
Coming out of pandemic, I think I would just go on some obvious challenges that we would have faced, much like our competitors, I would say. Like you mentioned, staffing being the primary one. At least with our property over here, we've been very lucky in a sense that our employees want to come and work for us. Like they love being a part of Four Seasons, and they do not choose any other brand when they are working for Four Seasons.
Nice.
That helps us. Even with that, we had some certain challenges when it comes to labor and staffing. So what you do is you manipulate in between departments, you cross-train people, right? So when there is a need, you actually already know what the needs are going to be, how many servers you're requiring, how many busters you require, and you get this help from other departments, right? So we have banquets, we have staffing in banquets as well. That's another part of food and beverage.
Banquet is slow, right? This
Banquet
day,
is
so that way
slower,
you can
so we
use-
can get that person to help us with the PDR when we have a private dining room reserved,
Understood.
right? So we do that, and we also get, let's say the bar is busier, so we have people cross-trained already to be a bar server. So they have been here so long, they know all the titles, and they've been cross-trained. So that actually helps us just to easily staff it. So sometimes there are times when we have our bussers and there is no food runner available or something, then we can just change that title and have that other person jump in to help.
Let's say let's go on number 2.
Number 2, I would say it's one obvious one would be top line profits and achieving your targets and things like
True.
that, right? And
You're responsible to make sure growth.
yeah, that's my growth plan, right? For myself. That's where my career depends. So when it comes to making sure that you're achieving targets, and you see, especially when we are talking about wines and things like that, I would like to bring up, like, you see something has a high margin and it's not selling. So what do? Right? You have to collaborate with team. You have to take a dynamic approach to see how you can move inventory.
Give me an example.
So recently I've had a situation where just recently, Bozo or Rosé was not selling. Like we're not able to put it out as much as I would have liked. So what I did was I put it out in as our option on the private dining room menu. So when you put this category of wine, you know when they are actually booking for a private dining room, they want a little higher end, a little up tier wines and beverages, right? So you put that, you give that option to the client, and you're selecting out of 4, then obviously they would choose that, right? And that's being sold, right? So out of my 6 cases or something, I have been out of 3 or 4 now, and I have another 2 left to sell, and we're getting a good price. So you don't compromise on the guest quality, right? And you don't compromise with whatever the guest expectations are, but you are able to move these inventories and maintain the target line and target goals, and making sure your revenue is there, right? And getting your products out
so
there.
this is an example, great example, because this was a blue space that you just created. There was no product there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You just added.
You add that.
Added a revenue.
You can also do is you can collaborate with the team, and we do that in every.
Meaning
any bar
training them
manager
for upselling or cross-selling? Or?
Yeah, you can upsell. Yeah, that would be like training your staff to upsell, right? You put it as a special on your menus, or you put it as an insert with your bar activations, things like that, right? Also, what you can do is pair with the food is that has been there in the industry. You have certain wines or something, and you just come to the kitchen, be like, is there some dish that we can prepare for this to put in the menu, and we can start pairing it.
If you were low on your numbers and you literally like, okay, June, I have to make sure I have to add something. What comes to your mind? Like 3 things that you would completely roll out, to make sure sales are up.
First thing is, because you are not there to sell, right? Yeah. You have to train your staff. Like you have to take a trust and have a faith on them that you go out to them, you tell them clearly this is what you're trying to achieve, and they are here to help. They are here to make the money as well. When you actually are able to sell a good bottle of wine, you get a good amount of gratuity as well, right? And it's also the customer satisfaction part of it. You put that training in place, be like, okay, this is what we are targeting, this is the dish we're serving, and this is the wine that you can recommend. It has this kind of notes, and this is why it's very well gone with this food, right? And so they'll be selling that. The other part is making sure that your, it's every approach that, even though we are hospitality, every approach I would say is to be data driven, right? It matters that a person is Googling a bottle of wine that you're selling for probably $300 and they look at it, and I hope they don't find it for $40 elsewhere, right? You have to know where you're going and where you are trying to make these margins, right? You probably cannot try to make this over 200% on any and every
not at the
cost
of trust, basically.
Exactly. So cross-train, have that comp set done, have that analysis prepared, and then go ahead and feature it with your team, have a talk, go prepare it with a culinary and have that in the menu. Somehow you put that out in the menu and try to make the gains on it. That's the one way you can achieve your numbers. And the other part is looking at your inventory more thoroughly. Here we do every once a month, right? And we want to make sure that you know what is selling, you know what is not selling, you know what is stalling, so you can make the movements based on that, right? And you need a good team to help you with that. As a director in outlets, I do have a bar manager and I have assistant food and beverage manager that actually come into play and help me out and do a fantastic role with that as well. So
nice.
Yeah.
What's the third sort of pain problem that obviously comes to you more and more?
It's always about, I think the third, if I have to mention, would be it's a guest services. Sometimes you do a mistake with wines, or somebody wanted a wine, unhappy guest, let's say, right? So what do? You as a manager, you have to go out there, right? You go intervene and you provide them with the right selection of wine, or if you don't have it, you provide with options, and then you can always end up with a good touch. Give them a complimentary
What
dessert.
is the mantra of, let's say, Four Seasons? No matter what, like there must be a rule book, right? Like no matter what, customer is right. Is that something where?
Well, customer, in my business, I would say you say yes to almost everything that customer is saying. Customer is always right, I would say. But other rule that we actually follow here in Four Seasons is the golden rule, where it only means that you would want to treat the guest the way that you would want to be treated somewhere else, right? If you have that sight in your mind and you go to a Walmart, you have a certain expectation, right? You go to a Four Seasons, you have another level of expectation. So you go to a place like Four Seasons, there is an expectation that comes to your mind. And how would you want to be treated? That's how we teach our staff. That's how we teach our employees to be conscious of, like, make sure you treat your guests the way you would want to be treated in another restaurant.
So when an unhappy customer is satisfied with your solution, that's what you're aiming for.
That's it. We just want the repeat business, right?
Yeah.
Today let's say you might end up losing a $20. You might come back with $200 if the guest is happy.
Yeah.
Right? So we are here. We've been here for over 2 decades now. And Four Seasons takes a pride in delivering that extra mile when it comes to guest satisfaction.
And in fact, I've seen like people are so good that they don't say, but then they'll tip you so well when you've solved a problem.
Exactly.
They'll cover up. They'll pay $50 for that extra wrong bottle, for example.
Really, it's all about, like, people are already paying a good amount of money just to be here in Four Seasons, right? And there is always a revenue coming. If it's not for food and beverage, maybe it's for rooms.
True.
Right? Overall, we have the person coming back and they will choose us next time they come to San Francisco. They think about Four Seasons.
True.
Not any other brand. That's what we want. That's what we aim for.
Got it.
Yeah.
What more? Like
any other challenges? I would say the competition itself is a challenge.
Other
right?
hotels?
Other hotels.
Nice
right?
one, yeah.
You need to know there is a competition. That's a lot of times what happens is you are in a place like Four Seasons and be like, okay, you already are in the peak of the summit, and you start thinking, okay, what you might stop thinking, like, what you can do to motivate your team, what you might do to upsell, what you might do to move the inventory. And it's very important, just not achieving targets, but making sure, there is a trend, there is something that's coming up and it's in hype. Then you need to be aware of where the trends are going. Like, for example, just recently with just like smoke guns, right? And there came these bubbles, and there's other trending phenomenon that goes around the social media and things like that. You have to catch on them and try to see if that's something that your guest would want over here, and they don't feel left out, right? However, yes, in Four Seasons we do have certain expectations, like what kind of silver you're using, what kind of glasses you're using, what kind of liquor you're presenting. If the bottle looks correct, good for your bar and all that, right? We cannot just come and pour you anything that you would want from any general bar, right? We just want the good product out there, the best that we have outside to deliver that experience. So it's all about knowing your competition and what they are doing, and then looking into your menu and making those changes.
And then I'm imagining inventory. Running out of stock.
Running out of stock is another problem. Like, you have to be creative.
That's good.
Right now, just recently, just coming out of pandemic, as you know, a lot of our vendors, they were not able to just get the bottles, like the glass bottles.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we had shortage, and they started coming with the plastic bottles and things like that. Somehow we are compliant. Like, we do not want a one-time use plastic bottles in our menu in the restaurant itself or mini bars. So we had to change all that. So when we actually recently changed out, so for instance, we had Grey Goose in our mini bars. All of a sudden, they started like taking a longer time to deliver. And same thing with bourbons. Like we carried Jack Daniel and it was on a plastic. So we had to change that. So I reached out to our vendors. That's where you come into play, right? You need to know your vendors. You need to build that partnership. So I was able to call Pacific Wine and talk to our rep over there and be like, how quickly can you get me these many cases, 5 cases or 6 cases of a Bullet, or I know they carried Belvedere at that point. So I had to make that switch because they were not able to deliver that. So it's all about making these alternate plans and going for it and asking questions, making sure you know your partners, making sure you create this bonding, your relationship well, so they can go and find it for you. One day I was out of 17 rooms and they were all missing Don Julio tequila that we carry in the mini bars as well. So I was like, I called Nicole, who represents the Pacific Wine, right? And is there any way you could send or bring it today? And she was just able to just go and bring it in her own car.
True.
Like that's the relationship you need to
Yeah.
build, and they are there to help. They are here to do the business. At the same time, they want you to succeed, right? And we want them to succeed. It's about that mutual relationship you create with the vendors. It's very
Absolutely.
important to go through these tough times where the inventory is not there. There is a shortage and things like that.
I think let's touch on the last one, which is, on career tips for some young sommeliers trying to get into the game. You've, as we discussed, like you've worked at this and now you're at one of the highest levels, and managing the restaurant. What are some career moves or tips you would give which you think that has ended up in serendipity? Because obviously you were there at the right time and you did your things.
Right. It's always your calling, right? It's your inner calling. Like I said, I did my undergrads in applied biology. I was actually going for a complete different major until I stumbled upon hospitality. It's something you want to do. If you are able to go out there and say, actually, I want to make their day, or your guest who comes in, you're going to be excited. You can see that. If you enter to our restaurant, you go to a host, you can tell if that person is happy about you coming in or not. It's about that excitement, right? We are so glad you are here, right? And we're so glad that we get to serve you. And I hope we'll make a better day for you. I don't know what your thought is. I don't know where you're coming from. But now, since you are here within our territories in the restaurant, we're going to deliver that experience that you may have come for.
Very nice.
I don't know if you wanted a quiet session or maybe you wanted this wonderful lunch. We're just going to deliver that. And when you're thinking about hospitality career, you think about that, right? You're always going to be catering towards guests. It might not be everybody's job. Like you might not want to go and talk to guests every day. And now that's my job as in food and beverage, right? You may be in other departments. You could run from sales and marketing. You have rooms, you have HR, you have all other departments that you can go and pick a career. I think there is always something for everybody in hospitality if you really have that passion. But you have to be very passionate about guests, your employees, and making sure that you are there for employees, making sure that you are there for guests and willing to go that extra mile. And I think that's all it takes for you to be successful. I'm still climbing the ladder, and I hope I climb much more. So the goal is still there to be up there. But yeah, my career tip would be focused on your calling. And if you want the hospitality, you would have to start somewhere. Either it's a manager in training, if you wanted to be on management side, or like me, I started in back of the house, right? I was a cook in Marriott, right? So it's about knowing what you want to do and following your passions. And especially in hospitality, making sure your guests are taken care of and your employees are even more.